I'm John Thomson.
And I'm Thomson Craighead, and we've been working together for the last 20 years under the name Thomson Craighead.
And we both actually studied at Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art, and I graduated from postgrad course in electronic imaging in 1992.
And I graduated a year later in 1993 in drawing and painting. So it feels very special to be doing a solo show here.
Yes, to come back to DCA is definitely a treat for us because we have a particular connection to the city. The bulk of the work in this exhibition is recent work, so either very recent or in the last sort of 2 to 3 plus years. Actually, DCA again commissioned us specifically to make 3 lenticular light boxes. It's a piece of work called Corruption, where we've taken 12 frames respectively for each of the 3 boxes from a corrupt video file. It's the kind of video file that you would download from a peer-to-peer network, which would be trying to infect your computer with a virus, so that when you play it, it becomes utterly abstract, very kind of distorted, colourful image. And so the lenticular light boxes animate as you walk past. So each of the 12 frames reveals itself as you move around the space. So while the other video works in the exhibition play back, you kind of play back the boxes as you walk around the space. So that's been very exciting to make that new work. But we're also performing a work in between the 2 gallery spaces called Dundee Wall, which is a simple idea where we just restrict geographically our view of social networking status updates. So predominantly Twitter broadcasts within actually a 20-mile radius of the gallery. So we take the GPS location of the gallery, look at what everyone is tweeting about within 20 miles.
And you can also see what everyone's doing in the city. So it does very much feel like a collaboration with the city or with the people who are tweeting in the city.
Yeah, and to be able to bring that kind of invisible flow of information into a physical space is of interest to us, but also this idea of taking kind of microblogging, which is a very transient, rapid process, and to sort of slow it down by transposing it into a kind of comparable predecessor technology. So it's of interest for us to kind of bring that information back into the physical sphere using this kind of technological relationship with fly posting. Another recent work, it's been shown once before, so it's actually the first time we've seen it in a gallery, is 6 Years of Mondays, which is a documentary artwork about a man in Fife called Graham Smith, who for the last 8 years has been recording the view out of his bedroom window from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. And so for us, that was such an interesting body of information that we decided to present 6 Years of Mondays. So you get 6 sequences, time-lapse sequences, where you see every Monday of a particular year starting in, is it 2006? I can't remember the first year.
I can't remember, I think it's 2006.
Yeah, and with a different kind of soundtrack that kind of nuances or perhaps focuses you on what this kind of contemplative landscape might mean in a different kind of way. So there's this sort of narrative trajectory that goes across these sort of repeating cycles of Mondays.
And we met Graham and found him completely all by searching online, and that tends to be something with our material. A lot of our material we find and gather completely through the web.
Two of the large-scale projections in the main space are actually, again, documentary artworks is how we describe them. There's a short film about war and a work called Belief, and they are made entirely out of information we found online.
And so we call them, those 2 works, desktop documentaries. Because it's the idea that we are making documentaries, but we're never leaving the desktop. We're not actually, physically going out and filming people. We're seeing, is it possible to make a documentary about these subject matters without ever leaving the network or the computer? So yeah, so data is our medium. And I guess we're really interested in it and what you can do with it as a material. And actually, trying to understand some of the material traits of it through working with it, through playing with it.
We think of a lot of our work as being like documentary practice, and we go out of our way to try and work with things that exist already in this sort of landscape, this data landscape.
And so I think when we talk about time machine or this kind of interest in systems and rules, we often talk about Oulipo, which was a French movement that we were hugely influenced by. And I think one of our favourite writers from that there is George Perec or Harry Matthews as well.
Yes. George Perec wrote a novel, a detective novel with no E's in it. So that's a sort of an example of a kind of systematic transformation. And with the time machine in alphabetical order, we kind of make a nod to Oulipo by using what we call a constrained editing technique, because in Oulipo they talk about constrained writing techniques. And we apply a system of classification, the reordering of the work into alphabetical order, as an exercise in time travel for the movie. So it's quite a good example of where one of our core interests lie, which is about our agency as artists in looking at the cracks between things. So trying to look at systems and architectures that surround us in the world, and trying to work out how they control us, or how they perhaps inform kind of how society is generated or cultures are built. So you see that throughout the work that we make, I think.
So the title of the show is called Maps, DNA and Spam, and I think really that's a homage to our love of Oulipo.
To have it as a palindrome is nice for us. It's a bit of fun because it says something about how systems and how those sorts of structures that sometimes are hidden from us, even in plain sight, inform what things mean and how we behave.
And I think it's just quite playful. And I think that's one of the things we like to do quite a lot, is be playful with text.